Did you know that there are 3 invisible spiritual signs that only appear in the lives of those who have been touched by heaven? Silent signs, yet so powerful that they change entire destinies without making a sound. Pope Leo, known for his life of prayer and surrender, was the one who revealed these hidden mark signs that are not visible to the human eye, but that are recognized in the spiritual realm. Signs that open paths, cast out evil, and protect the chosen ones, even without their awareness. There are people in this world who, despite facing the same difficulties as everyone else, walk with a deep peace and an unexplainable grace. Nothing about them seems extraordinary at first glance, yet everything around them transforms. Problems resolve themselves before they grow out of proportion. Provision arrives at the right moment, and a peaceful silence surrounds them, as if something greater is always watching over every step. Have you ever seen someone like that? Maybe you're exactly that persona and don't even know it yet. This is not about luck or coincidence. Pope Leo taught that coincidence doesn't exist. If you've made it here now, it's because something greater is guiding you. Perhaps the Holy Spirit himself, or maybe an intercessor who has never stopped praying for you. Someone who carries the burdens of many in silent prayer. Someone who has witnessed miracles happen in the stillness of the night while others slept. These signs revealed by Pope Leo are not found in common catechisms. They are like hidden spiritual keystones that only the chosen can recognize when they are ready. And once you identify them, nothing in your life remains the same. So, if you feel that this message is speaking to you, take a step of faith right now. Subscribe to this channel and write in the comments, "Pope Leo, open my eyes to see the signs." This gesture may seem simple, but in the spiritual world, it is an act of surrender. It is a way of saying, I recognize that I've been called and I'm ready to see. He is not an ordinary man. His gaze carries silence and discernment. His presence, though serene, transforms the atmosphere. And his name, now proclaimed to the world, echoes as a new call to faith, Pope Leo. He is not a distant figure, enclosed behind the walls of the Vatican. He is a shepherd who walks among those who suffer, who listens to those who weep, and who prays tirelessly for those still searching for meaning in their pain. A living man, present, who has just taken up the sacred mantle and since then has stirred the heavens through his intercession. Even before receiving the title of Supreme Pontiff, Leo was already known for a life marked by compassion. He did not shy away from human suffering. On the contrary, he entered into it. He would sit for hours, hearing confessions, tending to the desperate as if they were old friends, and his listening was so deep, it seemed to pierce the soul of those who sought him. Simple people, broken by the weight of life, would leave his presence with tears in their eyes and peace in their hearts, as if something within them had been healed without words, only by the steady and silent gaze of that man. Today, as Pope, his mission has not changed. Leo remains the one who carries the burden of the world on his shoulders, but now, his reach is even greater. His prayer is not just personal, it is prophetic. He intercedes for nations, for lost souls, for chosen ones who have yet to awaken. And that is why his voice, though calm, carries the weight of a spiritual authority that few can comprehend. It is said that when he prays, something moves, that his connection with heaven is so intense that even demons recognize it and retreat. But Pope Leo does not seek the spotlight. He is a servant, a guardian of the faith, a silent intercessor whose tears have already saved lives that will never know they were reached by his prayer. If you are hearing this message today, it may not be by chance. Perhaps it is because one of the blessings released by this man has reached you. Perhaps he prayed for someone like you. Perhaps on some quiet night he asked heaven to open the eyes of a lost chosen one, and you were touched. Now, the call becomes personal. There are marks the world cannot see, but which heaven recognizes with absolute clarity. These are spiritual signs that do not shine to human eyes. but that illuminate the invisible paths of those who have been touched by a special grace. According to Pope Leo, now at the head of the Church, and already known for his deep spiritual sensitivity, there are three invisible signs that manifest in the lives of those who are truly chosen. Signs that do not appear in common books or surface-level doctrines. They arise deep within the soul, silently, becoming shields of protection, sources of peace, and portals of permanent blessing. These signs are not given by chance. They do not result from human merit or luck. They are responses to a divine calling, and more than proofs, they are invitations. Invitations to spiritual responsibility. Because those who carry these signs are not only being protected, they are being sent. Pope Leo, even before becoming Pope, spoke with reverence about these spiritual marks. He would observe with discernment the souls who approached him, and in silence, he would recognize those who bore the invisible seal of God upon them. But what is most remarkable is that often, those who carry these signs do not even know it. They go through life believing their pain is punishment, their emptiness is failure, and their sensitivity is weakness when, in truth, all of these are spiritual symptoms of a choice made before birth. Pope Leo teaches us that those who have been touched by heaven carry rare traits: a peace that remains even in the midst of pain, a faith that endures even in God's silence, and a strength that reveals itself precisely when everything seems to fall apart. And that is why today, in revealing these three spiritual signs, Pope Leo does not seek to impress anyone. He seeks to awaken. Because, as he himself has said, there are people who walk as lights in the midst of darkness without even realizing they are lighting the way for others. There are souls who have been marked by God and still do not know it. And perhaps, upon hearing this message, you will begin to recognize yourself. These three invisible signs, which act as spiritual keys and protective shields, will now be revealed. And if you recognize that you carry one of them, or more than one, understand this: you are not living a common life. You have been touched, and it has a purpose. The first sign: having a family that prays for you. For many, having a family may seem like something ordinary. But from the spiritual perspective revealed by Pope Leo, having a family that prays, that intercedes, that silently pleads for you, is one of the most powerful signs that you have already been touched by a blessing. According to the Pope, this is the most underestimated sign, and at the same time, the most effective. It doesn't matter if it's a grandmother with a rosary in hand, a father who prays silently before sleep, or a mother who, even exhausted, whispers a Hail Mary while folding clothes. Every prayer sent to heaven in love, even without words, forms an invisible wall of protection around the children, the grandchildren, and the entire household. Pope Leo recognizes this kind of family as a true spiritual fortress. He affirms that when a family is united in prayer, no evil can remain. The forces that try to destroy, divide, or mislead may strike, but they do not endure, because that place has already been claimed by faith. Perhaps you haven't realized it yet, but if you've made it this far with life, with hope, even after facing storms, it is very likely that someone has been or once was praying for you without your knowing. And that is a sign, not of merit, but of divine love reaching you through the hands of someone close. There is a testimony Pope Leo likes to share, that of a woman who was facing intense spiritual attacks, nightmares, pressure on her chest, the sense of a malignant presence. When seeking guidance, she discovered that her late grandmother had kept a prayer journal with her name written hundreds of times, each prayer a seed planted in the invisible, each plea a brick in her spiritual shield. Even after death, the grandmother's words continued to echo in heaven, and that was enough to reverse everything. This is the hidden beauty of faith. What you cannot see is what sustains you. And when an entire family, or even a single faithful soul within it, commits to prayer, all its members are enveloped in that light. Pope Leo affirms with conviction, and he says this with steady eyes and a firm voice, that many people are alive today because of these prayers. Even if they are distant, even if they don't yet understand. True intercession transcends time, overcomes distance, and protects even those who don't know they are being protected. If you carry this sign, if someone in your family has prayed or still prays for you with faith and sincerity, understand this: your life is guarded. That is no small thing. That is a seal, a calling. And now that you recognize this sign, the responsibility is yours. Continue the cycle. Pray for your own. Become now the intercessor. Because those who are protected are also called to protect. The second sign, your health still allows you to fulfill your mission. Pope Leo teaches us that there is a silent lie spreading among the spiritually distracted, the belief that blessings are only manifested in the absence of pain. But the chosen ones, those who have been sealed without even knowing it, carry a higher understanding, for they have learned, often through suffering, that true health is not about having a perfect body, but a surrendered one. A body that still breathes, still feels, still prays, even with limitations, even with wounds. The Pope often repeats, if you can still walk, raise your hands, kneel, cry, think, then there is still something powerful that can be done through you. Even those facing illness, chronic pain, or physical challenges are not excluded from their spiritual mission. On the contrary, they are often the first to be chosen to transform pain into intercession, exhaustion into supplication, limitation into a channel of grace. He himself has witnessed people who, even lying in hospital beds, prayed for nurses, for family members, for the world, and those prayers carried more power than many speeches. Pope Leo recalls the story of a woman who, after suffering a stroke, lost most of her mobility and sank into sadness. But after hearing a sermon about the value of offered pain, something changed within her. Every day she began to say, "Lord, I offer you this pain for those who suffer without faith." And something extraordinary began to happen. Peace returned to her heart. Her eyes began to shine again. And even though total healing didn't come immediately, she became healing for many others. This is the true secret, recognizing the health that still exists, even through the pain, valuing what can still be done with the strength that remains. Pope Leo reminds us that every step, every breath, every tear offered with faith is a living offering upon the invisible altar of heaven. Those who understand this live a higher form of spirituality, for they stop asking only for relief and begin to become channels of healing themselves. And if you're reading this now, if you have breath, if you are conscious, if you can make any movement, then Pope Leo declares, you carry the second sign. Heaven still counts on you. Your body is still a tool in God's hands, and as long as you live, there will always be something to offer. Don't ignore this truth, because many would give anything to have what you have right now. The third sign, faith that remains even when God is silent. Pope Leo has stated in his recent homilies something that few have the courage to say. The greatest miracles don't happen when everything goes right, but when the soul persists, even when nothing happens. When heaven seems silent, when prayers seem to bear no fruit, when everything around you collapses, and yet the person kneels and says, "Lord, I still believe." This is the third and most powerful sign revealed by the Pope, faith that endures the silence, faith that keeps going even when the heart is broken, faith that doesn't depend on comfort, on visions, or on immediate answers. This kind of faith is rare, and it carries the seal of divine selection. He reminds us, many give up praying when they no longer feel God's presence. But the chosen ones continue, not because it's easy, but because it's real. Because deep in their soul, they know they were touched, even when there are no external signs left. In his most intimate words to the people, Pope Leo has shared that in his own journey of faith, he endured long spiritual nights, moments when it seemed even heaven wasn't listening to him. But even then, without comfort, he remained. He repeated his prayers, held his rosary, and said to the Lord, "I do not feel you, but I know you are here." And it was precisely in those moments, according to him, that the greatest spiritual breakthroughs occurred. This is the faith that moves the invisible world, not the faith that receives, but the faith that resists, the faith that does not bow to the absence of answers, the faith that keeps loving even when it feels forgotten, the faith that intercedes even through tears. Pope Leo says this faith has the power to tear down spiritual strongholds, to set entire families free, to restore generations. If you, even in silence, even without strength, still pray, if you still hold your rosary even when it feels heavy, if you still walk into a church even when you feel nothing, then yes, this is the third sign. The sign that heaven honors the most, the faith that doesn't ask for proof, but offers loyalty. You are one of them, one of those who were touched, one of those who continue, even wounded. And this silent, hidden faith, perhaps ignored by men, is the one that echoes loudest before the heavenly throne. Pope Leo has declared, "Hell trembles before those who pray without desire," because that prayer doesn't come from emotion, but from the Spirit. And if you still go on, even so, then heaven has already recognized you. Receiving a blessing is one of the soul's greatest joys. But Pope Leo has been warning us, with both firmness and compassion. Every grace received demands a response. A blessing that is not acknowledged weakens. One that is not cultivated is lost. And one that is not shared fails to fulfill its purpose. God does not send signs in vain. And if you have received any of the three signs, the love of a family who prays for you, enough health to continue your mission, or the faith that endures in silence, then you have been chosen for something greater. Pope Leo calls this the responsibility of the marked. It's not enough to receive, it must be honored. It's not enough to feel, it must be acted upon. He has taught us that the chosen are not only protected, they are also responsible for protecting others. And it all begins with small decisions, with small acts of faith, with the courage to turn every blessing into a bridge to heaven. The Pope encourages simple yet powerful spiritual practices, praying 3 Hail Marys before bed, one for your family, one for your faith, and one for your health. Praying the rosary at least once a week, even if slowly, with pauses. Offering pain and anguish as silent sacrifices, turning suffering into a spiritual ladder. He tells us, pain offered in love becomes light. If you already carry these signs, then there is more to be done. Your faith must become a covering for your loved ones. Your prayer must become a bridge for those who do not pray. Your love must become an anchor for those who are lost. This is Pope Leo's call, to turn blessing into mission, and mission into a path for others. Because, as he said clearly in one of his most moving messages, the blessing you keep only for yourself dies with you, but the blessing you offer to others echoes in eternity. Therefore, from today on, every gesture of yours can carry a new purpose. Pray for those who hurt you. Care spiritually for someone in silence. Intercede even without recognition. This is spiritual maturity. This is giving back to heaven what heaven has already given you. And if you still have doubts about where to begin, begin with your heart. Heaven doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for surrender. And Pope Leo firmly believes that those who recognize the grace they already have become vessels for 1,000 more. You have already been chosen. Now it's time to give back with action, with faith, and with silent service. There comes a moment in the spiritual journey when even the most devoted soul experiences the silence of God, and this silence, for many, is mistaken for abandonment. But Pope Leo teaches us something profoundly different. Divine silence is sacred ground where the hearts of the truly faithful are formed. He says, "When you pray and hear no answer, when everything seems quiet, that is when heaven watches your spirit's faithfulness most closely." Having faith when everything is going well is easy. True faith, the kind that shakes the darkness, is the faith that endures even when God seems silent, and this is one of the noblest marks of the chosen ones. The one who kneels even when tired, the one who keeps praying even when confused, the one who, through tears, still says, "Lord, I trust you." Pope Leo has witnessed stories like these around the world. Simple people, invisible to the world, but giants in the spirit. Mothers who keep praying for distant children. Young people who persist in prayer despite not seeing answers. Men and women who, even in pain, continue praying the rosary, trusting that God is listening even in silence. This kind of faith that remains without guarantees is the kind of faith that moves miracles. It's the faith that protects homes without being seen. It's the faith that keeps souls standing even amid inner storms. And the Pope says clearly, it is not loud faith that sustains the world. It is the silent faith of those who pray when no one is watching. If you've been feeling this silence, don't give up. Silence is not absence, it's intimacy. It's the way heaven prepares your spirit for something greater. When you keep going without feeling, when your prayer comes through sighs, when you hold the rosary even without strength, that's when God is closest. That's where the miracle is being formed. Pope Leo reminds us that faith without immediate answers is the most valuable kind, because it isn't based on signs, but on love. And if you've been praying like this in silence, without response, know this: heaven is already moving because of you. What you live in silence today will be your testimony out loud tomorrow. Chosen one, if you've made it this far, understand, none of this is by chance. The time you've spent listening to this message has been, in truth, a reunion. Not just with words, but with your own essence. Heaven had written this moment long before you ever imagined being here. And now that you've heard it, now that something inside you has been touched, you can no longer ignore the call. Pope Leo, this chosen man, who now leads multitudes with authority, compassion, and wisdom, does not speak only with words. He speaks with his life, with surrender, with the signs that manifest around those who have been reached through his intercession. And if, throughout this message, you've recognized these signs in your own journey, then you already know. Your covenant with heaven is active now. In this exact moment, you are not alone. You never were. The blessing has already been released. But now it needs a response through action, through faith, through commitment. Heaven acts where there is surrender. And the chosen are those who say yes, even amid uncertainty. So, leave a sign in the spiritual realm right now. Write the number 22. In the comments, this number that carries the code of divine activation, of the spiritual builder, of the marked one who awakens to their mission. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now. Not out of habit, but out of purpose. So this message can continue reaching other chosen ones who, like you, were waiting for a clear call. Pope Leo has been a vessel for silent miracles, inner healings, and spiritual confirmations that only sensitive hearts can perceive. And this space we've built together is part of that mission. An invisible altar where marked souls gather to remember who they really are. If your soul felt peace, if your spirit was stirred, if your eyes filled with tears or your heart raced, that's your answer, that's your revelation, that's your confirmation. And when the chosen one recognizes the call, heaven begins to move with even greater intensity. You are being revealed now because the world needs your light.